79-year-old man who is a person of interest in his wife's drowning eight years ago asked a judge today to lower his bond. After all, James Precht, seen right here, has no criminal record, but he does have some explaining to do. And as Local 12's Barbara Dixon shows us, the judge wants to make sure he's around to do that explaining.
James Precht shuffled into the courtroom hoping for a break. He's been held while sheriff's investigators look into the death of his wife. She drowned in the river in 2006, but was just identified this year as Barbara Hess Precht of Indian Hill. The two disappeared decades ago.
He's been locked up now for 4 or 5 days now. The police have had plenty of time to talk to him. They haven't charged him with anything involving that. He voluntarily went in and spoke to the police for 4 or 5 hours on the day he was taken in.
Taken in after police found him near UC, where he's known as Mr. Jim. Because he didn't admit to being James Precht, he's charged with falsification and obstructing the death investigation. His attorney argued requiring a 79-year-old with no criminal record to come up with 10% of a $15,000 bond is too harsh. Judge Brad Greenberg disagreed.
Bond, in fact, should be raised just to make sure that Mr. Precht remains around until the matter can be looked into further.
The judge is now requiring all $15,000 for Precht to get out on bond, so it's back to jail. In the hall, he wasn't talking about Barbara, but was happy to see his Clifton friends. What happened the day Barbara left? These are all legal documents from the early 80s that show the Prechts had huge financial problems when they disappeared in 1983. When they did, they owed hundreds of thousands of dollars. In 1980, Barbara and James took a loan out on the Indian Hill house where they lived. 3 years later, the bank sued, saying they weren't making payments. There were other bank loans in default and personal loans, including a $31,000 loan from Louis Nippert. I don't know if it's the same Louis Nippert who was the majority owner of the Reds. Then one night in 1983, they were gone. Barbara was arrested 3 years later in California for stealing food. Their daughters were left at an orphanage. But Barbara ends up dead here, her husband living nearby. As the judge said, there is more to do on this matter. Deborah Dixon, Local 12 News.
James Precht told police that he and Barbara were here in 2006 when she drowned. Why he didn't report her missing is another question which needs to be answered.